Welcome back to Take Action News, everybody. David Shuster here on May the 4th. The Jason Collins story, and it is an amazing one. It first came out in Sports Illustrated, the May 6, 2013 edition. I was personally thrilled to see this because one of the two guys who was involved in putting this story together is John Wertheim. He's perhaps one of the best sports writers of our times. He's written many works, many books, 6 different books. His most recent one, The Hidden Influences Behind How Sports Are Played and Games Are Won, which is also about economic principles used to explain sports. My favorite book of his is actually Transition Game, How Hoosiers Win Hip-Hop. One of the reasons, of course, that I'm so thrilled that John Wertheim got this is not just because he's a great writer, and he is. He's also a native of my hometown, Bloomington, Indiana, the pride of Bloomington North. John Wertheim, welcome to Take Action News.
Bloomington North. Good to be here. How are you, dude?
John, it's great to have you. First, tell us, how did you guys get the story? How did it come together?
Well, I mean, now that the statute of limitations lapsed, it was a bit of a fluke. We have a contributing writer, longtime writer here, Franz Lids, who's friends with an NBA agent. The agent said, I have a client who's thinking about coming out after the season. Would this be something that interested you? Well, we said, certainly yes. This was in early April, and they gave us a date of April 24th. The player didn't want to do it during the season because he didn't want it to be a distraction, but as soon as the season was over, he wanted to unburden himself, and we had circled April 24th on our calendars, and Franz bought a plane ticket, I brought a plane ticket, and to my happy surprise, the meeting was never canceled, and we showed up on the 24th. We had an address, and we knocked on the door, and Jason Collins had ordered us lunch already and greeted us with a smile, and that's pretty much how it happened.
And you had no idea in advance that it was Jason Collins?
Yeah, I mean, candidly, we knew the agent. We knew he was an NBA player. I deduced that if he was scheduling meetings for the 24th, he was not in the playoffs. So you could sort of reverse engineer it and narrow the list, but I had no certainty it was Jason Collins until, literally till the door flung open.
And then I assume you knew enough about the NBA and about him to be able to appreciate his sort of backstory. What was the first thing that he said to you?
Honestly, it was just sort of, half an hour of very casual, sort of ice-breaking, tell us about Jason Siegel was his backup center, and you sort of had typical L.A. talk about the traffic. I mean, it was sort of just half an hour of casual, get to know each other before we got down to business, as it were.
In your own mind, as a journalist, and I know that you've interviewed a lot of high-profile figures in sports and elsewhere, but in your own mind, were you appreciative of that at the moment, what a watershed moment this was?
It's funny you say that. I mean, I guess yes and no. I anticipated this would make significant news, and on the other hand, there was, there's zero precedent for this, and this was, Jason Collins has certainly been around. He's a veteran. He'd been in the finals. He'd been a starter. But we're not talking about Kobe or Shaq. And I just sort of I thought he was a delightful guy. I thought he was very sort of reasoned and charismatic. But you just never have. I woke up Monday morning. We released the story on Monday, and I texted Jason and sort of said, "Here you go," and are you ready? And, that morning, Tim Tebow had been released by the Jets, which in New York anyway was huge news and all over sports talk radio. And, you sort of said, I don't know, maybe Tim Tebow will drown out this story. But, about 10 minutes after this thing went online, that, it just, I was surprised by how much attention this got, put it that way.
Yeah, it wasn't Tim Tebow who got the call from President Obama that day saluting his courage.